You are listening to the Young Sports Cast. Stay tuned.
The Fields thing too with the Bears. I think they're staying with him.
I think they are too.
I think they're just pushing to get that number one pick as high as they flipping can.
Yep.
And they're going to play it out to the T. I mean,
I'm
not taking Williams. I don't see them ever taking Williams because of who he is.
I agree with you. I saw a news article that said something about, insiders report, it's all but a done deal that they're taking Williams. And I thought the same thing. I was like, we are so far from the draft. There is no way that anybody in the Bears organization has made a determining factor of saying we are 100% taking Caleb Williams. The combine hasn't even happened. I'm like, come on.
That's where it's going to happen.
This is a marketing scheme. The Bears are praying that he goes to that combine and just kills it, because then they're like, then they can come out and be like, yeah, after what we saw, hands down, we're taking him.
And then the team says, no, you're not. We're going to make you.
And then the Washington Commanders are going to be like, look, we need that pick.
But he's got to blow everybody else. He's got to blow May out and LSU's Daniels out of the water in order to make that happen. What was nice about the Senior Bowl was Penix and Nix came in as second-day picks, and they left as second-day picks.
Yep.
They did not do that well.
No.
So under that takes them out of the equation, that they're not even in it. Now you just got three. So if Williams can come into, like you said, combine and just completely annihilate.
Yep.
The combine, the Bears pick has now become 3.
For sure, at least.
And they were talking about if they trade Fields, they would get a second. I'm like, bull crap. If in order to get Caleb Williams, it takes 3 first rounds, that means Fields, that's proven himself as a starter, is worth 1.
Yeah.
So I don't care what anybody says. He's not a second-day pick.
When I saw that, I was like, if the Bears sold him for a second, like, they have completely lost their mind. Because look at the quarterback situation in the NFL. How many teams are looking for a new quarterback? I'll bet it's as many that we're looking for new coaches. So a quarter of the league is wanting a new quarterback in some shape or form, either now or in the next year or two. There's no way a second round pick. I mean, I'd give that up in a heartbeat. I wouldn't even be mad at the Chiefs if they said, "Yeah, we'll give a second for him," because we want the best backup we can possibly find. I mean, we don't need it necessarily, but you know what I'm saying. That's ridiculous.
Something that ticked me off was anyway, there was an announcer that basically said, well, hey, the Bears, Justin Fields is not worth, they need to get rid of him, they need to get Caleb Williams, and then basically said if it was it's a coaching issue, and if Fields was on another team, this wouldn't be an issue. And then I'm like, then why are you getting rid? That's exactly what the Bears are doing. They got rid of Getsy. They're bringing in Waldron to change things up. It's like, how can you sit there and say this is on Fields when you just said if he was on another team, he would be an awesome guy? It's like, but yet the Bears need to trade him. It's like the guy was.
Yeah. If he'd be awesome on another team, then it means you have a coaching problem.
My point. That's what he said. It's like that you basically said the opposite in this thing. It's like, I don't know who wrote your script, but you weren't right.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think the Bears trade away, but I think New England's not hurt. I think the ones that really matter are the ones out of the top 10. So you're talking Atlanta, you're talking Raiders, and you're talking Denver. Those 3 there, and the Bears don't want to go down to that level. So if Washington doesn't care who they get, and neither does New England, I've heard nothing out of New England, I think they're set and saying we'll take any of the 3. We don't care.
Probably.
And we're not going to give anything away. And I can see them doing that. They got Brady for what? 6th-round pick?
6th-round pick.
They're not worried.
Right.
They can make it. They'll make it work. But anyway, I think if they do that, well, then that makes Washington say, well, if we absolutely want this guy, we're going to have to move up. But I don't want to see the Bears go down that far because
I agree with you. I think New England, they got a new coach, and I don't know that much about him, but they've got to be looking at it going, we saw what happened to the Panthers. Like, we're not going to put ourselves in the Panthers position where we don't have any way of supporting this guy that we bring in. So I think you're right. I think they look at it and go, we'll develop one of these guys, but we have to have room to work and room to move. Washington, you're only going up one spot. I mean, you still give up a lot of future capital, but Washington already has some playmakers. I mean, you got Terry McLaurin, you got Jahan Dotson, you got Logan Thomas.
But if you're the Bears, do you go after any of those?
No, I don't think the Bears. But what I'm saying is that Washington doesn't have as many holes to fill.
Oh, absolutely, right.
So they are a quarterback will change their trajectory, whereas the New England Patriots, they need a whole offense.
They have. I look back through. It's like, okay, so if the Bears do trade, which I think Carolina, they were super smart. They took away their number one receiver, right, to make their quarterback even look worse. And then Carolina was smart enough or dumb enough. They get rid of Christian McCaffrey that takes pressure off your quarterback. So now you lost two huge playmakers, and in some of those tight games they would have won, I think, with Moore and McCaffrey.
More firepower,
right?
Yep.
So the Bears were absolutely smart in taking, hey, if we take away their wide receiver, they're going to have nobody. We're going to get the first-round pick. So I think they're looking at that again this year and saying, Washington, you're right. New England, I think that's the smartest of them.
Yeah, New England they have nobody.
They have nobody.
And the other thing that's different is the Bears don't need somebody. Like they needed DJ Moore. Like not only were you taking away the number one, but you were filling a giant hole on your side. So that's what made that thing such a haul. Was you gave up first round last year, first round this year, and a number one wide receiver, and plus some other picks too. I mean, that was the beauty of it. And they have, we're talking first, but how many seconds they got? At least 2 this year, don't they?
No, we got rid of our second.
Oh,
we only had one. We only have the first round next year.
Oh, you got rid of the second to get Sweat.
That was our pick, though.
Okay.
The only second round we got from Carolina was next year in 2025.
Okay.
But otherwise, yeah,
But yeah, I mean,
they were super smart. But I think he's building this offense slow and steady. And I think Fields, like we talked about, I think if you get good receivers like DJ Moore, they make him look good.
Yeah.
I think you get one number one wide receiver. Justin looks like a stud. It might not be him, but he looks that way. It's like pitchers and catchers, right?
Yep.
A good catcher will make the pitcher look like a stud. It's the same way in football. You got a great quarterback that makes the wide receivers, or vice versa.
The real question, I mean, as a fan, do I want to win the Super Bowl one time and then wait 10 more years? Or do I want to be in 4 out of 5
Ask
years?
Detroit, what do they think?
They're getting there, though.
They still have it.
They still haven't.
Poor people.
They've made it farther than they've been in 31 years.
I like that Campbell. Dan is a great coach. I think he's done. I mean, I looked at him when they were Matthew Stafford was there. The way he played, dirty. I mean, if the Bears got, I remember I'm a Bears fan, so you get an interception. I mean, he would take him out, and it'd be 15-yard penalty, face mask, whatever. It was a dirty game. Yeah. Detroit was always, it seemed like during that era, dirty. But you get Dan in there now, if that happened, they'd be off the team. I mean, them days are gone. And I'm not saying anything against Stafford, but that's just, it was the Calvin Johnson era. It was just.
And Doc Monsu.
Yep.
I mean, that dude, he was personal fouls all the time.
That was at Detroit. That was the same time.
He started in Detroit. Yep.
That was a different game, but I don't see Dan doing that. It's a different coaching staff, and
they've built slow and steady. And I think he'll learn from what happened this year. He'll be successful.
I think Minnesota's going to have an issue. I think they signed him to a 2-year contract and set the quarterback for 2 years and start him. But I don't think they come up and reach. I think they get one of the second rounders. McCarthy, Penix, Nix.
Yep. And it may work out almost better for them. I mean, let's be honest. How many of these top 1, 2, 3 quarterbacks are actually working out?
Lawrence kind of is to a certain point, but
he and Burrow are kind of the exceptions at this point. I mean, Mitch Trubisky, gone. We've had more than that. Well, Kenny Pickett, although he wasn't that high, he was lower.
But it sounds like Pittsburgh is ready to move on almost. I mean, they're one of them that was kind of pursuing or looking at Fields. It's like, well, I thought you had Pickett. I don't think something ain't right there. I don't know what it is, but I don't think they're all in on him.
I don't think so either. I don't. They obviously don't seem to like Trubisky. They signed him, and they definitely don't seem to like Mason Rudolph, even though I think he's still there.
He is there, yeah.
But
he played a few games.
So it's kind of Pittsburgh's got a weird quarterback room.
But that's their screw up. They had been all those years, and they could have been bringing someone up, knowing that he was going to retire. They chose not to. You don't see that with the Chiefs and the Bears. Yep. You don't see that with a lot of teams. Look at Jordan Love at the Packers.
Right.
Knowing Aaron Rodgers and having this guy sit and get custom. Pittsburgh never did that.
No.
Now they're stuck trying to scramble and take someone clean out of college and say, oh, now we need you to start for the NFL. And whoops, they're not ready. Well, right. No, they're not.
And what veteran do you have there to teach the guy?
None.
I mean, unfortunately.
Trubisky. Biscuits himself. He's in. He's a great guy, but gee whiz, he was. You know what though? He was the one that took us to the playoffs, and had it not been for Double Doink, we would have won that.
Yep,
right?
That's correct.
But the Double Doink, but he played. It was Matt Nagy.
Yeah.
That you guys have now, thankfully. But the difference is I think he let him play his game. So if you let Trubisky just play your game and have fun, go out there and party and play your game, he plays phenomenal. He played lights out. I remember getting a text during one of the games, 4 or 5 touchdowns he threw one game. It's like, holy smokes, it was phenomenal. It was fun. And then they sat down and said, well, this is what we want you to do. And from then on, the guy absolutely was hurting.
Yeah, Tim Tebow is kind of the same way.
Tim Tebow's the same way.
He took the Broncos to the playoffs, but in that game, to your point, he played. He did his thing. I mean, he was all over the place, but it worked. And but then when they wanted him to stand still, and it just doesn't work then. So.
But that's what Fields said. Remember, he said that. Remember hearing that?
I don't.
So he met with the media and he says, I'm a robot out there because basically this is what the coaches are saying. And he said it in a nice way. There was nothing, I didn't take it wrong at all. And media's obviously going to always take it wrong. But the point is that's what happens to some of these quarterbacks.
Yeah. No.
This is what you're going to do. It's like, that's not my strength. I can't do that.
Right. Well, and that's, I feel bad for Bryce Young. I know some people are out on him. But you got a guy, he's got no one to throw to. He's got no offensive line to protect him. And I mean, you sort of have a running back. Like, what do you expect from this guy? Like, he's not magic. So I think too many quarterbacks get put in situations where they're not set up to succeed. And it's unfortunate.
And you know what? I think it ruins the quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you look at what some of these quarterbacks could have been like Trubisky, had they had the right coaching in place to play to their strength, they could look totally different today. I know that once you get beat up so bad, you lose sight of who you really are.
Right. You have no confidence. So every time you're throwing, you're second guessing yourself. Am I throwing to the right person? Am I throwing at the right time? Am I going to get intercepted? What happened last time? Yeah. The mental game as much as anything.
Especially running for your life. Geez, stinking with.
Right.
Young didn't have a line. Like you said, he had nobody to make him look good. It was terrible.
Yeah. Hike the ball and see what you can do.
He was a number 1 pick, too. It'll be
Number
interesting
1.
to see if he can get out of it. I mean, they cleaned house.
Yep.
Right? The GM?
Yep.
Everybody got canned.
Yep.
Which I think the GM should have been canned, given away Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
I mean, if they would have kept Christian McCaffrey, you can get by with a lesser than perfect offensive line because you're keeping the defense.